The story broke about 5:45 Wednesday, Subin, and it was absolute shock. And you understand the South very well, and it was like the world had come to an end with that something had happened to Nick Saban that's not supposed to. And but by the next day, you started getting some weird signals because there was some pushback from Alabama. And by Friday, when they announced the Thursday test, you knew they already knew the Friday test because the tests come back by 1 o'clock in the afternoon Central Time. So Saturday was not a surprise. Everyone knew Saban was going to be there. But what he did was just light that team up, especially at halftime. And you have to wonder what would have happened had he not been there. Would the second half had still been the same? Open for conversation, but it just enhanced the Saban legacy as if it needed any more enhancing. And it was the biggest win of the year in college football.
Paul, Rex Chapman tweeted out that it was a embarrassment, terrible message being sent by Nick Saban to coach that game on Saturday. What's your feelings about that?
I love Rex Chapman, but I'm not sure I understand his logic there. Nick Saban had a false positive. No different than you or me or anybody else. It could have happened to all, and it has happened to a lot of people. And he didn't say on Wednesday, this is a joke, this is ridiculous. He went home. He did what you're supposed to do, and he didn't leave his house until Saturday. So I don't know how anyone could say that. He had 3 more tests after that, Keyshawn. And if you want to have an FBI investigation into it, that's fine. But he was approved, and I understand the skepticism by some people. But I really don't believe it in this case. Nick Saban, to me, has been one of the more responsible people in sports in relation to COVID and in public life, I should say. He has worn a mask. He has preached the message. So I think it's outrageous for anyone to cast doubt on the veracity of those tests. I don't see. I mean, without any justification either.
Yeah. Paul, the Big Ten starts this Saturday. Who are the real contenders coming out of that conference for the national title?
Yeah, Key, this is all about Ohio State. And I think they are way ahead of everyone else. And you mentioned the Penn State situation a minute ago. They've lost a couple of really key players, maybe obviously their best player. And I think, their Penn State's one shot is in 2 weeks when they take on Ohio State on Halloween. That's an epic game. That's one of the most anticipated games of the year in college football, the whiteout at Happy Valley. So they have a shot. I don't think they can do it, but they have a shot. But other than that, you have to really search. Is it Wisconsin, Iowa? Can Jim Harbaugh do something that he doesn't look like he's capable of doing in beating Ohio State? So quite frankly, I think the Buckeyes don't have a lot of competition in the Big Ten.
Yeah, they have some COVID concerns as well in the Big Ten. Jeff Brom, the Purdue coach, is not going to be out there when they take on the Iowa Hawkeyes this weekend in the Big Ten opener for both. And that's where I want to go next with Paul Finebaum joining us here on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. If a player tests positive, Paul, in the Big Ten, this is just unique to the Big Ten. They would miss 21 days. And essentially you're trying to play 8 games in 8 weeks. So let's just call that 3 games. You're going to miss 3 weeks of the season. Other conferences are a little bit more lax. We obviously saw Saban get back out on the field Saturday, but obviously he's not a player, a distinction there. What do you make of that sort of time a player would have to miss nearly 50% of the season when other leagues have such less stringent policies?
Well, let's talk for a second about why they did that. All we need to do is go back to August 11th, Zubin, and the Big Ten voted not to play college football. And it wasn't even close. It was 11-3. So what happened was when everything started to unwind, the Big Ten presidents, and there's 2 epidemiologists in the Big Ten at Michigan and Michigan State, I think they said, okay, you guys want to come back, we are going to put some serious teeth into the protocols. And that's why you got that. It seems unfair, and if a key player, let's say Justin Fields, the best player in the Big Ten, gets knocked out with COVID, that very well could wreck his team's chances of winning the title. So it seems unfair, but it was the only way back. And I still think you have to keep your eye on the Big Ten. While COVID has interrupted about 10 or 15% of games across the country, the Big Ten, I think, is going to be the most difficult in terms of, and the Pac-12 when they finally come back.
You're going to leave us alone.
Because the presidents, I still don't think they really wanted to come back. They got forced into it by public opinion and by coaches. So they are going to be far more stringent than anyone else in the sport.
Paul, I think I heard right yesterday on SportsCenter, you saying that BYU was the fourth best team in the country. What impressed you most about them? Because I haven't had a chance to see them play.
Yeah, typical Keyshawn waking up, hearing half the truth. And that's what they're saying about you in Dallas right now after those eviscerated comments a few minutes ago. Keyshawn, they ask you do SportsCenter all the time. They ask you to do a top four, and I couldn't use Ohio State because they had not played yet. I could, but I didn't think I should. So I'm trying to figure out who are the four best teams in the country, and is it Notre Dame? They just barely beat Louisville 12-7 or some ridiculous score. North Carolina just lost. So there really wasn't. I just thought I'd have a little fun. We try to do that in sports every once in a while and throw BYU a bone. I mean, they've done really well. They have beat Navy in the opener. They beat Houston. They're not one of the four best teams in the country.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN Plus right now.